I don't even know how to intro this one, but I had to bring in help. So, the first teaser trailer for Venom finally came out, and I was not in the mood to rush this out to get my reaction the same day that the trailer came out. I did it for Deadpool. I'm not doing it for this. But turned out this guy actually wanted to talk about this as well. So we have Ryan Daly joining us today.
Hi, folks. This was my idea, and yet as soon as you agreed to it, I was like, I don't have anything to say. Well, why did I suggest this?
All right. Well, it's a short one then. Good night, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah. Oh, boy. Where do we even start? Okay, I mean, I've talked about this movie before, and pretty much I've been highly skeptical from the beginning because I think a Venom movie in and of itself is a dubious prospect. Making it without Spider-Man, even more so. But when it was announced that it was going to be an R-rated horror film, I had a sliver of hope because I thought, okay, if you go, say, body horror, if you really ramp up the notion of what this thing is doing to his mind and his body and him fighting with it, and you go R, maybe. I wasn't like, this will work. I was like, there's a tiny bullseye.
Yeah.
If they could just get, but it's a tiny bullseye surrounded by just a world of suck. So this trailer makes me think they did not hit that.
Well, I don't know what this trailer shows.
Well, that's part of the problem. So I'm sure we'll get into that. But I mean, I rewatched it a little bit ago, and I found myself asking questions that there are no answers to. And I don't just mean what does Venom look like. I mean just within the context of it as a trailer in and of itself. There's a guy in the hospital. Why? We don't know. We start hearing voiceover. Is it the voice of the guy who we saw? We don't know. There's talk of an accident. We see something. What kind of accident was this? We don't know. Like, there is a whole bunch of we don't know. And basically, unless you know the name Venom, there's really nothing to go on from this.
Which was my overall impression is if they did not give you that title card at the end of this preview, this could be anything. Anything. My brother even joked it's like Firestarter 2. It's like it's any sort of paranormal sci-fi conspiracy thriller. It's like it could be the astronaut's wife. It could be something like weird. It's not so specific. It's basically just so generic, so broad. Even the voiceover. I turned it on and just closed my eyes and listened to the voiceover, which is. Do we think it is Tom Hardy doing the voiceover, doing an American accent? Because
I think it is. Now, I might have to go back and check. Maybe they had Mike Tyson do the voiceover.
It sounds like Terrence Howard from Iron Man.
Oh, it's pitched at a weird sort of level, and it's got this tiny little hint of a lisp, and
it's also dialogue that means nothing. It's such generic 8th grade poetry writing. It's awful. So you look like that in combination, like it almost looks like a parody commercial for an action movie. It's like there's a guy wearing pajamas, like he's escaped from a hospital, riding a motorcycle in the city. There's black SUVs exploding behind him. It's like
there's literally one shot of black goop in a container.
Yeah, and it's again like if it didn't say Venom, I wouldn't know that this is a comic book movie, let alone, and you're right, like, I kind of come from the same place, like, the prospect of a Venom movie is not enticing to me because I don't really like that character as a protagonist. I like him as a Spider-Man villain, even then he's not one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, but I think he has a particular niche. As a protagonist, it just doesn't interest me. However, as you said, if they make changes to get rid of Spider-Man, so you're changing his origin, you're tweaking it a little bit so he's not a derivative character now, you can still do that and make a good sci-fi horror movie. And there's a chance that it will be. It still doesn't appeal to me, but I'm just one fan. That doesn't mean it's not going to be a good movie. There are good movies that I don't necessarily like. So it's possible, but like I look at this one, I was like, who looks at this preview and just like, I'm excited for Venom? Because there's nothing about Venom in this. Like,
well, and I think that's a big thing. Now, I've said this, and actually, this kind of almost springboards off something I said when I did my video talking about Deadpool, which is I feel like the people making these trailers are making them as if we still lived in a world where the first place people were going to see movie trailers
is in a movie theater.
Was in a theater in front of another movie, or maybe in a TV spot or whatever. Like, it would start...
Like a Super Bowl.
Yeah. The trailer would start and they wouldn't already know what it is. Deadpool did that to a certain degree. This one really does that. And it still wouldn't be a good trailer, but I think it would play better if you weren't sure what it was, and then by the end you went, oh, it's Venom. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world where the vast majority of people who see this trailer clicked on a video link that said Venom official teaser trailer, and by the end of it you're going, where the hell was Venom?
I agree with that, except to the point where I think that basic premise of introducing a trailer where the audience doesn't know what they're going to see, they're basically coming in cold, and they get that final reveal at the end, I think that plays into a certain degree of mystery, and like a mystery or a whodunit, after you get the reveal at the end, you can backtrack and say, oh, these were the clues, these were the things leading up to it. Even if it's a minute and a half, typically, that's the way that sensation would play out if that was the emotion they were going for. This does not lead any breadcrumbs. There are no clues seated in this that lead you to think Venom at the end. It's just kind of...
I was looking, too, because like there's that... He mentions an accident. There's this shot of this thing, like in a... I don't know if it's a forest or a field or what it is, but they were like these strands coming out where it was like, is that webbing? But then I looked closer and I was like, no, I can see cable hookups. They're just cables. I don't know what any of this is.
Like, he's in the lab being scanned for something. I don't...
I'm assuming they're going with the he has cancer version of his origin.
Which... Didn't Deadpool just do that? And probably did it better? Like...
Kinda!
We've got our R-rated anti-hero with cancer as his backstory, and that leads to him getting superpowers?
Yeah, kinda. I don't know. And I think it was a very poor idea for them to play coy with any image of Venom himself, because I don't know if anyone else has been vocalizing this up to this point. I think plenty of people are saying it now with the trailer on, but I had been thinking with the various, images from production that have come out or things that have been tweeted from set or whatever, that we have seen no hint of what Venom looks like. No,
we haven't seen concept art?
No concept art, no previs, no nothing. We have no clue. And that's what everyone who cares about this character is dying to find out.
Because when you strip away most of what Venom, he's kind of a look. It's the design of the character that people care about.
I mean, look, whether you like Venom or not, he starts with a visual concept, and then you basically reverse engineer a character from there. He's Spider-Man as a monster. That was the starting point. Then it was like, how do we justify this?
Yeah.
But the whole thing is just really weird to me that at this point it really looks like they are hiding this so hard. Like they don't want to show it at all. At least that's how it's reading. And I know that they're hoping that it's going to be like, we're teasing you. Like, no. Everyone's asking, how will this look? Because last time he was on film, he didn't look good.
Right.
So we want to know that he looks good.
Right.
We came to this trailer and you don't give him to us. And I'm also actually pretty concerned about this version of Eddie Brock. And I have been for a while because, like, I remember the first image of him that got published. He's, like, got all these tattoos and everything. I'm like, so it's no longer Eddie Brock, former crusading reporter. It's now Eddie Brock, bar biker guy. Like, what? I don't understand.
I was comparing the character of Venom to Deadpool in terms of their fandom. And they both came about in the early 90s. They were both largely based on a visual appeal and a visual look. And they were anyway, so they were very popular in the early 90s. Then there was a backlash associated with the character specific to, or kind of tied into the backlash of comic books from the 90s. Maybe you know something about that.
Oh, maybe a little.
Might have some experience. The thing was, Deadpool found some redemption in that he had a second life. Within 5 or 10 years of that character kind of like fading away, he was resurrected, reinvented, repurposed to be this fourth wall breaking, homicidal imp trickster kind of like character, and that plays into what they've done with the movie. I don't know that Venom has ever gotten that second life. He's never really gone away.
No,
but the fan base clamoring for a Venom movie, I don't think is what the studios think it is.
I think you might be onto something there, and that's not me saying Venom has no fans. I'm sure he does, but I mean he didn't have a second wind. His peak in popularity was basically in the 90s with his initial creation, pushing him as a Spider-Man villain, giving him a string of miniseries, doing Carnage, but then by, say, 98, certainly by 2000, people were kind of burned out on him, and by that point they started jumping the symbiote from host to host to host.
Right, which tells you the character, the character beneath the thing doesn't really matter that much to them.
Yeah, so... Or I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. I'm going to say that that was one of the ways Marvel tried to revitalize the character by having it jump hosts several times. They did Agent Venom for a while, and none of it has stuck. So it's been odd from the beginning that Sony has kind of latched onto this character for a solo film so hard. I guess just because he's, I suppose, the only Spider-Man character within all the stuff that they have the rights to make movies to who has ever been a solo comic book lead. Because I don't think any of the others have. I don't think Black Cat has ever had her own title. I mean,
she's been part of teams. She's been
that's probably why they're pairing her with Silver Sable. But like, I feel like this wasn't driven by an actual analysis of this character. It was driven by, of all these characters we have the rights to, who else had a solo title? Venom. We'll do Venom.
I would be even more cynical and say who else appeared on the most T-shirts and tattoos.
Okay.
Or skateboards. I
had Venom on my birthday cake when I was 13.
How do you feel about that today?
I have no regrets.
All right, good. And you know what? I'm even worse because I always liked Carnage more than Venom. And Carnage is just the derivative with no value, just nothing. He's all just surface. So.
Carnage is the symbiote taking over the Joker. That's what Carnage is. Although, oddly, he seems to have had a resurgence. I've actually had a fair number of people tell me that Carnage's stuff that's gone on lately has been really good. I haven't read it. I can't vouch for that. But I haven't had people telling me that about Venom. I've had people telling me that about Carnage. So he might actually have been a better bet to be their answer to Deadpool than Venom was. But he's supposedly in this, so maybe they're hoping to spin him off later.
I mean, he did have his own series. He did appear. Venom had his own stories that went on after Spider-Man. I can't speak to their quality. I still think he's a character that really has one story, and it is as a foil to Spider-Man, an answer to Spider-Man's kind of dilemma. When you give him his own shtick, he's just a killer vigilante.
Yeah. And he's the Punisher with a weird alien suit instead of guns.
Right. And I still didn't get that from this trailer.
No. I mean, at this point, we've devolved just into talking about the concept because there's really nothing to say about this trailer.
No, there isn't. And there's nothing. But if I'm taking a broader approach, like we've talked about, and it's been kind of in the public discussion in terms of these pop culture movies and things like that, the notion of superhero fatigue. And will that ever kick in? And I think movies like this that are just kind of generic, might hurt the brand. I don't think as long as you got movies like whatever the Avengers franchise coming out, that as long as those continue to be strong, I think they will remain unaffected. But I think a movie like this, that's not Marvel Studios, that's not Disney or Warner Brothers, hurts these other kind of like third or fourth tier projects. Of course, now, I mean, Fox, we have no idea what we know kind of what their future is in the short term. Yeah. But I think, and we said, like, this isn't a good look for Sony, which has already had a number of black eyes. And we've talked about it in the past that I think I was surprised that Fox sold off their film and entertainment division before Sony did.
Yeah, and I'm between because we were talking about this earlier today. I said within 5 years, there's no way Sony doesn't unload its entertainment division.
Sure, and we thought that 5 years ago. I remember when we had this discussion when we were going to see the IMAX preview for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, we did.
That was like 2014, I think. We were talking about, when is Sony just going to give up the ghost on their movies and everything and just say all we're going to do is build like PlayStations?
Yeah, but PlayStations and TVs and cameras. Yeah.
So.
I don't know, but there just really isn't much to.
I have no plans to see this movie. I wasn't really excited for it in the first place, and this didn't make me want to.
I think the kicker, the only way, I still might see it out of pure morbid curiosity, and yes, I recognize that makes me part of the problem because I think it'll be bad and I will pay money anyways. I recognize that, but I live in a town that has $4 matinees, so I'm not paying much. But in any case, like, the only way that they can recover from this is next trailer to show off Venom himself, and he looks good. Now, they still blew the first impression, because you only get one first impression.
Right.
That will be damage control if they can pull that off, and I find that questionable.
Right. Yeah, they've got to work hard to get it back.
Yeah. So I think that's probably all we have to say about the Venom teaser trailer.
I don't know why I got out of bed for this.
It was your idea!
Still better than any idea Paul would have had.
Okay, that's true. So, Ryan's got a whole bunch of podcast stuff that he does. That'll be down in the description. Links for that. I'll decide which one I'm going to end up plugging for that. If you like my stuff, you can do all those things that people do. Support me on Patreon. There's merch, there's swag, there's buttons. You can follow me on Twitter. I got a podcast. Again, links down in the description. So until next time, Venom. This council is adjourned.